we go. Recording is on. Okay, so we'll stop a few minutes early and we'll do the siyum at the end. But before that, I want to start with a couple of things that I saw. One of them is an idea I had myself watching my kids, and the other is something I saw in the newspaper. So Shabbos, I was watching my son. He was playing with the next door neighbor. He's also 2, the same age. And they were blowing bubbles. The next door neighbor was blowing bubbles. And the kids were running after the bubbles, chasing the bubbles. And of course, so excited, so happy, they were chasing the bubbles with just glee and excitement. And of course, when they get to the bubbles, of course, the bubbles pop and there's nothing there. And it's nothing tangible. And as I was watching this, I was thinking to myself, that's the explanation of what life is all about. You know, if you look in the book of Keheles, Ecclesiastes, which we say on Sukkos, it uses the word Hevel all the time. Havel, Havolim, everything is futile or futilities of anyway, they translate it as futile. That it's a waste of time. It's pointless. The ideas and the vestitudes or vistitudes, I think is how you pronounce it. Well, you can't tell me because you're all muted. The vicissitudes of life here, Keheles. I have a book here. Was it translated? Havel Havolim, futility of futilities, all is futile. So that's how Hevel goes, that the idea of life and chasing after the worldly, earthly pursuits of this world are Hevel. And one of the ideas of why is it called Hevel, futile, what's this idea of Hevel? So the rabbis say Hevel also means steam. Hevel means steam. Those of you who are learning the Gemara Shabbos will know, the Gemara said, the world exists because of Hevel Tinokesh Shabbos Rabbam, the steam of the words of Torah of the little kids. Hevel is steam. Mosif Hevel we have by Hatmona. You're not allowed to wrap anything on Shabbos, even before Shabbos, completely insulated. But Dava HaMosif Hevel was something that increases the steam and makes something hotter, even if it's not on the fire. Hevel is steam. So why is Hevel connected to futile? So they say, what is steam? Steam is something you see for a second. It comes out of the kettle, you see a little droplet, and then it's gone, it dissipates. And that's what they say is the idea of the taivas and the riches and the vicissitudes of this life. That you see them for a second, the pleasure may be for a second, but then the pleasure is gone, they evaporate. And the only thing that's worthwhile in this world is Torah, doing mitzvahs, because that has an everlasting bond, an everlasting simcha, and it keeps us going through this life. And that's what I thought when I saw them playing with these bubbles, the same idea. They were chasing after these bubbles and the bubbles are popped. And that's life as well. We chase after these things. We chase after our desires. We chase after covered. We chase after money. And therefore, once we get there, it pops. It's gone. It's nothing tangible. It means nothing except for studying and learning the Torah. So I wanted to share that thought with you. Another thing I want to share from you is from the Jewish press. I don't know if anybody gets the Jewish press, but if you look on page 24, the halachic corner from Rabbi Herschel Chakra, I don't know if you can see it, and the title this week is, Are Wars Good? And to basically paraphrase what he's saying, he quotes from the Chassam Sofer that one is not allowed to daven that wars should end quickly because a war is called, the Gemara says, it's Aschalta de Geula, it's the beginning of the redemption. And wars have a purpose, they have a reason, and therefore you can't daven that they end quick. Of course, you can daven that you personally will be saved. You can daven it won't affect you or your family, of course, but one cannot daven in general that a war can end. And it goes through a few of the sources about why you can't daven for a war. The Chassam Sofer writes in his Yoman, he doesn't think it's permissible to daven to the Rebbeinu Shalom, to Hashem, that the war should end. Because the Gemara says, Muhammad has the Geula, the beginning of the Geula. And the Munkach Rebbe also says the same thing, that you can't daven for a war. And if you think about it, you know, just in a, not a superficial way, but if you think about it, I was always struck, the First World War had a very, very big impact on Zionism and the state of Israel, because the First World War obviously got rid of the Ottoman Empire. It collapsed. This is a very brief idea I have of history. I hope it's correct. And the British got the mandate in Palestine, and that's ended up with the Second World War. And of course, we have Israel today, and the whole world map changes. So he says you can't daven because it's all part of Hashem's plan. It's the beginning of the Gula. So it made me think of the coronavirus. Of course, I daven, or I did until I saw this. I daven regularly that the coronavirus should be ended, should be removed from everybody, and should disappear. And then I read this, and I think, no. If you remember, I think we mentioned it in our shir, there was all these WhatsApp messages and Facebook posts going around that there was a Rashi, an Ibn Ezra, I think it was, that says the war of Gog and Magog at the end of days, the war at the end of days that will supersede the coming of Mashiach is, says the Ibn Ezra in one of the places in Tanakh, I can't remember it off the top of my head, the Ibn Ezra says it is a plague, not a physical war. He says it's dever, a plague, and there were many other proofs that, and people trying to say, see, the coronavirus is the war at the end of days. Hashem is showing everybody he's in charge. He runs the world. You can't, science is on its knees. Nobody knows what to do. We'll do this, we'll do that. We'll open, we'll close, we'll open, close. Yeah, we'll wear masks, we won't wear masks. Face shield, not face shield, inside, outside, there. Nobody really knows. It changes all the time. And Hashem is making fools out of everybody to show everybody I'm in charge, I'm the boss. Which is hopefully a prelude to the V'haya Hashem the Melech HaKol Haaretz. Hashem will be the king over the whole world. Everybody will remember Hashem. And I think I said this in my shir, or one of my talks I give. I said that if you look, there was a couple of countries that were very good at the beginning, right? Florida was good at the beginning, didn't have many cases at all. Israel, Baruch Hashem, didn't have many cases. And both times, the leaders, Governor DeSantis and Benjamin Netanyahu, in my opinion, they boasted. They boasted we were amazing. I remember listening to Ron DeSantis saying, you all thought we were going to be the epicenter, and it didn't happen. We did everything so amazing. No mention of Hashem. No mention of thanking God we escaped. No, nothing of that. Oh, we're amazing. Same in Israel. Oh, our measures were fantastic. We locked everything down. We were the best. We were amazing. Oh, let's pat ourselves on the shoulder. We did amazing. 2 weeks later, Hashem brought it all crashing down. Right? We know Florida has huge cases and so on and so forth, and it's a very dangerous, worrisome place, and Israel also, and they had to have more lockdowns and so on. And again, I thought Hashem is showing you, don't boast. Don't get carried away with your own self-importance. It's me. I run it. I made a bracha that Florida and Israel shouldn't get it too bad. You want to boast? You want to get carried away with your own self-importance? Well, we'll just bring it back. So, to me, when I see this about our wars, that you shouldn't daven for the war to be ended, I thought maybe I should stop davening that the coronavirus should be ended completely, because this is clearly a war Hashem is bringing. Obviously, I still daven that we should daven that we ourselves should be protected, our families, our communities, our cities, obviously, should be protected. But I just thought, again, this is my opinion based on what Rabbi Herschel Schachter said, that obviously Hashem is doing what he is doing for the reasons that he is doing it, and therefore to daven that it should be over shouldn't be done. It's about, oh, what difference does it make if little me davens that it should be over? Well, those of you who finished the Daf Yomi of Shabbos will know yesterday, and I gave a shir on this last year, about is there mazel, are we under the zodiacs, are we not under the zodiacs? You can look in YouTube and you can find it, where we discussed it. And what did we say? Rashi says everybody is under mazel, except if you daven excessively. What is it? Oh, I've got it right here, I can have a look at it. Rashi says, b'tfilah, if you daven, if you really, really daven, you can avert the natural zodiac sign, the horoscope that you have. You can change it. And remember, we said that on Tisha B'Av you're allowed to get engaged. Why? In case somebody else gets her. The question is, what do you mean somebody else gets her? Your wife is pre-programmed for you from before you were born, the Gemara says. Everyone think it's all organized. How can somebody else take your wife? So said Rashi, they're barachimim with davening. If you really daven, however that means, whether it means again and strongly or whatever it means, then Hashem will change things. So you could daven that the coronavirus can end, and if you do it properly, however that is, it will end. But it's not the right thing to do. Same as last week's Sedra. Parshas V'aschanan, 2 weeks ago rather. Parshas V'aschanan el Hashem be'esahi. I daven to Hashem. You look at Rashi, Rashi says Moshe davened 592 davenings, and Hashem said, if you daven one more time, I'll have to listen to you, because you davened so well, so hard, I'll have to give you what you asked. But what you asked is not good. Because if you go in to Israel, then I won't be able to destroy the Beis HaMikdash, and therefore the Jews will be destroyed. That's a discussion for another time. But you see the idea that if Moshe had davened a little bit more, he would have got what he wanted. But Hashem said, please, Moshe, trust me. And Moshe obviously listened to Hashem. At the beginning of Ekev, you see, Tefillah does work. Tefillah can have a bearing on stuff, but Hashem is saying, don't daven for wars. Look, we had a war when we came into Israel, 7 years. It took them to fight the Canaan. Wars are part of Hashem's grand plan. I don't know why, what, and who. That's beyond my comprehension. But Rashi said, was he saying? No, it's not a Rashi. Right, so it's in Rashi, the Gematria of Chanan. It's obviously one of the other Mefarshim that says that if you said one more time. Okay, so that's the idea that I wanted to share with you from Herschel Schachter about the coronavirus. Now, coming back to this week's Parshas Re'eh. If you remember, over the 3 weeks before Tisha B'Av, we were talking about the Netziv. The Netziv was Rabbi Berlin, who lived in the 1800s. Where was it? Volozhin, I think it was, right? Volozhin, yes, that's right. He was a big rabbi in Volozhin. And he wrote in 3 places, at the beginning of the Torah in his introduction. He wrote in Parshas Hazino and in Parshas Matos. Remember, I found it so striking, but I had a question on it from this week's Parsha, and I said the question very quickly, and this week I want to expound on the question since it comes from this week's Parsha. So the Netziv was talking about the second Beis HaMikdash, we know, was destroyed because of sinas chinam, baseless hatred for no reason. And I said, I thought the end of the second Beis HaMikdash, they were fighting, the kings were fighting each other, and the Romans, they called the Romans in. Should we fight the Romans? Should we not fight the Romans? They burned down the storehouses, the zealots, the not zealots, the Gemara says. So I assumed that was what all this sinas chinam, fighting and arguing and civil war was about. Said in the same, no, it was much worse than that. It was the rabbis themselves that were arguing with everybody. Oh, you don't listen to me, you're a heretic, I'm going to kill you. Because that was the time of Christianity. That was the time of Jesus, and everything was causing a problem, and everyone said, oh, you don't listen to me, you're a headache, you're a Saduki, off with your head, and so on and so forth. And they were killing people left, right, and center, and therefore that wasn't good. Hashem wasn't interested. Hashem said, goodbye, I can't be a part to any of this. I can't live here with all this bloodshed and so on. And Hashem left. That's why he said in Parshas Hazino, I saw Tommy Palo, Hichol Dracham Mishvat, Shiches Bonov Lo. His children are the ones who are perverse. And he says, Avraham Avinu says, Hashem told Avraham, you are so special because you were telling you even daven for Sodom. Sodom was a terrible place full of sexual immorality, right? Sodomy comes from, I think, presumably from Sodom, because that's what they practice, you know, and so on. It was a place of depravity and so on, but yet Avraham still davened. So he was known as special, and Hashem loved him for that. And that's why he said it was no good at the end of the second Beis HaMikdash. That was the Netziv that we basically said. I'm sure you will remember because we discussed it many times. And I had a question on this Netziv from this week's Parsha. Let me get it up. Yes, let's get it up, and then we can see it together. Share my screen. Okay, share screen. Right, what's on the screen now? Okay, let's go to Sephira Library. Let's see the text inside, and then we can see it exactly. Tanakh, here we go. Tanakh, Deuteronomy, 13, isn't it? Chapter Yud Gimel this week, I believe, the Parsha I'm talking about. I believe it's 13, if my memory serves me correctly. I am 36 now, so my memory, whatever. Okay, 13, and I think it's Pasuk 6. Here we go. Right, so this Parsha, the Torah warns us not to listen to false prophets, those who talk about going after Avodah Zarah. And of course, this is what is used against Christianity and against Jesus, and so on and so forth. And then goes through. Here we go. Then the Pasuk says, Ki yisitcha achicha ben imecha. Let's look at it in the English. If your brother, your own mother's son, or your son or your daughter, or the wife of your bosom, or your closest friend, entices you in secret, saying, come, let us worship other gods, whom neither you nor your fathers have experienced, from among the gods of the peoples around you, either near to you or distant, again, refers to any type of avodah zarah, but we're going to refer to this with Christianity, which is clearly Avodah Zarah. The Rambam talks about it. One has to give up one's life to avoid being baptized, because serving God and the Trinity, whatever it is also, we believe in God and God alone, and no other helpers and no other people around. It's just interesting, if I just rewind it, just to show you, it's something that people ask, obviously. Here, when people say, why does Hashem do it in Christianity? Why does he make all these things happen? But here it says, for the Lord your God is testing you to see whether you really love the Lord your God with all your heart and soul. So I don't want to get involved in this topic tonight, but that's why people say, oh, why does Hashem do it? Why does he bring these false prophets, other religions? Why does he do these things? Why does he have these terrible things happen? Whatever. And that's part of it. It's in the Torah. Hashem is testing you. You know, life is a test. Do you believe in God? Do you really believe in it? Do you follow him? So that's, I just wanted to point that out. So this is the din. Somebody who tries to get you to serve idols, here, do not assent or give him, what is assent? I mean, listen to him, I suppose, or give heed to him. Show him no pity or compassion, and do not shield him, but take his life. Let your hand be the first against him to put him to death, and the hand of the rest of the people thereafter. Stone him to death, for he sought to make you stray from the Lord, your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thus all Israel will hear and be afraid, and such evil things will not be done against in your midst. So let's say this is talking about missionaries. I want to talk about it specifically referring to Christianity, which is what the Netziv was probably referring to at the end of the second Beis HaMikdash and the Tzedukim. So somebody is a missionary, right? This is a din against a missionary. Somebody is a missionary, knocks on your door. Again, could be your brother, your mother's son, your wife, all these close relatives, and says, you know what? Time to serve the real God, right? The real this, the real religion, right? We don't need to go into details. Says the Torah, do not listen to him. Show him no pity or compassion. Do not shield him, but take his life. You have to put him to death. Show him no mercy. Show him no pity. Now, if we look at the chinuch, because that explains it exactly, let's have a look. If we can find the chinuch here, where would that be? Let's have a look. Would it be under explanations? Would it be under commentary? Is this going in alphabetical order? No, it's not. No, chinuch would probably be in mitzvahs, no? Probably be under mitzvahs, as if we can read the chinuch inside. I don't see it in here, so let's go back to the home page and let's see where we think the chinuch will be. Chinuch is on mitzvahs. Let's have a look in halacha. Let's see if we can find it. There we go, right, staring me in the face. Sefer HaChinuch, what mitzvah is it? Let me have a look at my chinuch. What mitzvah is it? It is mitzvah Taf Nun Zayin, which is 457. So let's look at 457. 457. There we go, 457. There we go. So let's read it inside. Let's see. And he basically makes it simple. So there's a few mitzvahs here. Do not love the seducer, that we have likewise been perverted from bending our ear to the words of a seducer, and that not endear him in any manner. And the content of seducer is one who seduces one Israelite to worship idolatry. Okay, so let's find the bit that I'm talking about. Right. That the hatred of the seducer be fixed in our hearts. Again, we have to hate him. And if you look in the Chumash, on the Mefarshim, it says that you have a mitzvah of Ahavta l'recha kamocha. You've got to love every Jew, except these people. Mustn't love these people. I'm not going to find this on Sefiria now, otherwise we'll be here a while, but I've got it in here. It says here that the Sforno says, there's no mitzvah of Ahavta l'recha kamocha, there's no mitzvah not to hate. There's an opposite. There's a mitzvah to hate him, right? This is the mitzvah. Don't have any mercy upon him. Use a mitzvah to hate these people. The hatred of the seducer be fixed in our hearts, meaning to say that we're not lightening the grudge of vengeance upon him. We've got to really hate him powerfully. And about this, it is stated, you shall not listen to him, meaning to say, do not be amenable to him, to remove the grudge of vengeance upon him from your heart. I presume you understand this. You've got to have a vengeance, hatred, even if it's your brother, your son, your wife, got to hate them. shall you unload what is in your heart against him, which means you shall hate him. Now let's go a bit further. Mustn't save him. That the seducer is prevented from saving the seducer when he sees him in danger of death and perdition. I'm not sure what that means. You can't tell me because you're all muted. And about this it is stated, I'm better off in the Hebrew, I've got more chance of understanding what's going on. And that, even though in English is my own language and I come from England and I tease you all Americans that you don't speak proper English, but I suppose now the joke is very much on me. And about this it is stated, and your eye shall not be concerned for him, and so do they. May their memory be blessed, since it is stated, and you shall not stand upon your blood of your neighbor. It is possible that you do not stand the blood of this one, too. So you think, oh, I've got to save him. No, your eye shall not be concerned for him. And goes even further. Do not advocate innocence for him. And goes even further. Where is this? If you know claims of guilt, you're not allowed to be quiet. But goes further, says you're even allowed to trap him. Entrapment. Normally you're not allowed to entrap anybody. But here you're allowed to entrap him. Here. I can understand it. And also a commandment upon us to likewise hate evildoers and other sins. It's a mitzvah to hate them. Where does it say? Hold on, let's find it. Maybe it's in this section. Right, these are the laws. Also that which they said in Sanhedrin 67a, about one who seduces two, they are his witnesses, and they bring him to court, and we stone him upon their testimony. The seducer does not require of warning. Normally you have to warn everybody before they do the sin. If you don't warn them, they're not liable to death. Right? And where is it here? And may their memory be blessed. Said further that if he does not want to seduce two people, it is a commandment to conceal witnesses for him. See, we entrap him. And the matter is that he hides witnesses in a place they will see the seducer, and he will not see them. So you call two people sneakily in, so you hide under the bed, and you'll listen in to what this guy is saying. And he enters him into things that the seducer, he will not see them, right? So he thinks he's alone. And then he enters with him into things that he said to him in isolation. And then the seduced answers him, how can we leave our God in the heavens and serve wooden stones? And if the seducer recants or is quiet, he is exempted. But if he says to him, so it is fitting to do, and so it is proper for us, those witnesses bring him to court. And with no other death penalty besides this, do we conceal witnesses for them. That means we never entrap anybody. If there's no witnesses, tough. Okay? So there was no witnesses. You didn't warn him, okay. But here we go out of our way. We entrap him. We hide witnesses. We don't have to warn him. It's a really serious sin. So you get the idea. Right. And we don't go back if we find anything good about him. So we see here that there is a big mitzvah to hate somebody who is a missionary, a seducer. What does it call it here? They didn't call him a seducer. An enticer. What was that word he used? Enticing him, right? We see it's a big mitzvah to hate them. We see not only is there a mitzvah to hate them, there's a mitzvah to make subterfuge, espionage. Okay, not lies. You can't lie, but you can trick and you can force them. Say, oh, come here into my house. You know, you have the Adim hiding behind the door, and you can say, did you want me to serve these idols? You want me to baptize into Christianity? He goes, oh, yes, definitely. Ah, we've got you. You can entrap him. Special mitzvah because idolatry is so serious, such a horrible thing to do to Hashem, and therefore it's so serious to do. That's this mitzvah from this week's Parsha. And that's my question on the Netziv. Because surely that's what was going on at the time of the end of the second base of Mikdash. The Netziv was saying, anybody who didn't conform to your view, they killed him. They killed him without proper witnesses. They did this. So I think this is exactly what he's talking about, right? The rabbis at the time, they were saying, okay, you're a Masis, you're a Christian, you're a missionary, you're an enticer. And they would put them to death, and they would not use proper witnesses. If you go through the halachas, which we're not going to do now, it talks about normally you have to have proper witnesses, you have to have deep, everything has to be down to a T to understand exactly when was it, how was it, you know, you go through every little thing, cross the I's and dot the T's, or the other way around, cross the T's and dot the I's, and so on. You have to make sure it's perfect and everything, but in this case, with the seducer, with the enticer, you can be much more lax. You can be much more basic. So that was my question on the Netziv. Why was it so terrible what they were doing? So I thought a lot about this. I looked at the Netziv on this Parsha. Doesn't seem to say anything about it at all, and so on. So I was thinking a lot about this. And then I looked at the Netziv and thought maybe what he's saying is like this. Again, I welcome your comments and so on. That of course the Netziv knows about this, and the rabbis knew about this at the time. That yes, anybody who entices you, Christianity was rife at the time. That was the start of Christianity, or the start of the moving away from Yiddishkeit into other religion. And of course, the rabbis were so worried about it, they were trying to clamp down, they were trying to make a statement, they were trying to be forceful about it, to eradicate it, right? To stop it taking hold in Yiddishkeit. And they thought they were doing the right thing, of course, by, oh, you mentioned Christianity, oh, you got a cross, oh, looks like a cross, oh, what? Right, they put you to death. So that's clearly what was going on at the time. So maybe what they're saying is they didn't do the next mitzvah. What's the next mitzvah? Mitzvah's chakiras ha'edim heitev. The commandment of investigating the witnesses well, to make a formidable investigation of their testimony and to inquire about it well, according to all of our ability, so as to know the root of a thing and its complexity is completely exact truth. So I think that's what the Netziv is trying to say. Yes, there is a need to hate evildoers. There is a need to hate people who try and entice you to serve idols. But perhaps what he's trying to say, the problem was, despite all of these things, they were still too quick. Yes, anybody who had heretic views, Christian views, yeah, they must be killed. They must be dealt with. But I think what he's trying to say, if we look at it again, I'm not going to get it up now. By the time I go and get it, I want to do the Siyum soon. I think what he was trying to say, I'm just trying to see if I can remember what it was. Yeah, let's have a quick look. Let's see if we can look at it quickly. Tanakh, commentaries, HaMekdover, where is it? HaMekdover, nope, missed it. HaMekdover, tell me when you say it, but you're all muted, so you can't tell me. Here we go. HaMekdover. Which reference of the three references shall we go to? Let's look at the one at the beginning of Parshas. No, it was the one in Numbers, wasn't it? Numbers 34, 35, I think. 34, 35, Numbers 35, 34. There we go. Let's see if we have the English. I must draw this engine. No, it was. So let's do the one in Devarim. Was it there? Shiches lo. Okay, so basically he says that the problem was, he said, anybody who didn't conform to your view, they called them a heretic and they killed us. I think what the Netziv is trying to say is that yes, there's a din of the maces, this entice, but they took it too far. There's one thing, you're Christian, you have your cross, you have your avodah zarah, your idols, bow down to these idols, come on, let's go to these idols. Of course, that's you have to hate them and you do everything possible. But I think what he's trying to say is they got so wrapped up in protecting Yiddishkeit. They got so wrapped up in protecting Hashem and protecting not doing avodah zarah that they said anybody who comes, oh, philosophy, what's this? What you saying? That there's this, there's that. Oh no, that doesn't sound right. Off with your head. That's, I think, what he was saying. It didn't give the benefit of the doubt to understand when people came up with different ideas, different thoughts, different ways of thinking in Yiddishkeit, different hashkafas, as we may say, different philosophical thoughts and ideas about things, which has happened all through the century. The Rambam was accused of being a heretic. They burned his books. Right? It was something that was very bad at the time, and later on he's been accepted. People said, oh, he was influenced by the Islamic philosophies of the day, and he wrote a lot of things that seem to be below the belt of Yiddishkeit wise. So anytime somebody comes up with a new way of thinking, right, a new philosophy, a new thing, very dangerous. Ooh. So I think that's what the Netziv is saying, that it's not the fact that they killed people for their views. It's the fact that they didn't listen to really say, yeah, maybe what you're saying is not so bad. Maybe you're just trying to express something in a different way. Maybe you're just trying to express a different idea. And let's try and put that into nowadays. Let's try and put that in. And we see it again many times. We see it in meetings. We see it in so many ideas. that people are so quick to shout people down. They're so quick to, you're talking rubbish, you're talking nonsense, you're a fool, you're an idiot, you know what you're talking about. Well, if they took the time to think, okay, and the same is with politics, right? So many times you never hear in a debate, right? You never in a debate, somebody say, right, I understand your point of view for the economy, and yes, I think your view of the economy could work, and I think your view of the economy could help a lot of people. However, I think my way is even better and help even more people. You ever hear people say that? They just spend all the time shouting you down, not even listening, screaming, shouting, using all the other tactics, the scare tactics, right, the control tactics, and the secrecy and everything else to beat you in. But nobody thinks actually maybe his point of view. Maybe this measure, right, this healthcare bill, this, maybe it will work. So what? It's not my party, it's not my side, it's not the people I care about. So what? Let's try and examine each idea. Maybe there's good in it. Maybe it will work. Or maybe when we examine it, we can see ways that we can improve it, or ways that we can make it work. I think that's what the Netziv was saying. He was saying they didn't take the time to examine ideas. When you come with your Averas and you come with your Avodah Zarah, of course, goodbye, end of story. But it's these ideas that people were suggesting, thoughts and things, that's when people are too quick. Even nowadays, we've seen recently with some rabbis that have come out with some very aggressive views against other rabbis for views. You know, people, I'm sure you've all read about it and seen about it, people think, they don't even think what people are saying, don't give people the benefit of the doubt. Let's see, what did he really mean? How did he interpret it? What did he understand? And I think that's what the Netziv is saying. And that's how I understand. Of course, I welcome all your thoughts on that matter. So that's what I want to finish that topic. What time is it? 8:06. So now let's get on to the Siyum, which is good. We'll do the Siyum. We can't say the Kaddish, obviously, because it is without a minyan. Let's have a look if I can find the Gemara. Let's see Talmud. Let's put it on the page. The very last bit of, hold on. Let's see Shabbos. Hold on. Let's get it up. No, doesn't want to open. There we go. Shabbos, let's go to the very end and mazel to all the people who have finished and people who want to start again. Eruvin, be a great, great mitzvah. Right, 157b. Does it have the end bit here? The Hadron Allah? No. Where would they have the Hadron anywhere? Let's think. Would it be Tanakh, Mishnah, Talmud, liturgy? Maybe it will be in there. Siddur, commentary, high holy days, on a sanatoy kef, piyutim, halel. Hadron 4. There we go. Excellent. Look, you have it. What are all these numbers? Excellent. So we even have the Hadron that we can put on screen. Fantastic. So if I go backwards and forwards, we'll, good. So let me open a new screen. No, let me open a new screen. Well, okay. Let's open a new screen. No, we'll do it in the same screen. Right. So at least we know now that we can come back to it. If I go back, what will happen? Will it go back to where I was? There we go. Shabbos. Okay. And okay. So we'll finish off the last bit of the Gemara. Just a few lines. 157b. There we go. So the last, somebody was telling me tonight, he finished Shabbos, a wonderful achievement. He said, by finishing learning Shabbos, I realized there's not really much you can do on Shabbos. Which was, there's a lot of things you can't do on Shabbos. But that's why it's important to learn, so we know what the halachas are. Okay, so the last Mishnah in Shabbos says you're allowed to do hataras nadarim on Shabbos for things that affect Shabbos. It also says you're allowed to put the shutters of the windows in, which is where I was thinking about the hurricane shutters and so on, which we had an issue with a couple of weeks ago when, last Shabbos, the Shabbos before. And then the Gemara brought a story. We finish off with a story, or the Mishnah had a story with the fathers of Reb Tzadok and the Abba ben Bodesh Apokus Hamoy bet Viach v'Koshves Hamakida v'Gemi Leidem Yesh Beginning Posei Tefa. Okay, we won't go into the whole story now. And the Gemara, the Mishnah finished off. When we divrei, from this story, we learned three things: Shepoikikin, that you're allowed to fill up a hole on Shabbos, not in a fixed, formal way, but you're allowed to put things in like a box if your window breaks, you can put something in the way, a box of some sort that can block off the space. Or moidedin, you can measure on Shabbos things that are a mitzvah. You can measure a mikvah to see if it's the right amount. And it also says you can measure temperatures if people are ill, and which is also something that a lot of shuls are doing. I think our shul are going to be doing on Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah, taking people's temperatures to see that they don't have a temperature of a coronavirus. I should add that when it says taking a temperature, it's not obviously referring to an electric thermometer, it's referring to a mercury thermometer, which is no good for coronavirus because you can't keep giving them to different people, but you're going to get a goy to take the electric thermometer. The koishrim b'Shabbos, and you can tie things on Shabbos in a unusual, in a non-firm way. You can tie your shoelaces in a brief way that you're going to undo. Right, so that's the last Mishnah. So let's see the last bit of the Gemara. Ula, he happened to be in the house of the Reish Galusa. The Reish Galusa was the head man, the chief that the Romans put in charge of Yerushalayim or Israel at the time. He put him at the head of the Galus to be in charge of all the Jews. He saw Reb Huna was sitting in a tub of water and he was measuring it. A bit of a strange sight to see on Shabbos, right? You go to the house on Shabbos and you see this big rabbi sitting in a tub measuring. Very strange. What was he doing there? Amalei. When did the rabbi say you're allowed to measure things and water on Shabbos? If it's a mitzvah to see how much is, like on Yom Kippur, you can measure how much you can drink if those people can't fast and they're drinking small amounts, 38 cc's or whatever it is. You can measure that out in a measuring cup. Sometimes you have to measure for babies to make sure you get the right amount, the perfect thing, or you're measuring medication that you're allowed. That's allowed, mitzvah mitzvah. Because the pasuk says on Shabbos, you're not allowed to do mimtzo cheftzecha. You're not allowed to do the normal things you would do in the week. But David speaks as cheftzecha, your work. Says, your work, but not Hashem's work or whatever. So mitzvah is allowed. So Rabbi Bar, who was it? Rabbi Bar Rav Huna answers, Bisasek ba'alma, and I'm not really doing it. I was just, what does it say? Merrily acting unawares. Oh, I love that expression. Oh, I was merrily acting unawares. So this idea of Bisasek is a concept we're not going to get into now, but to put it simply, if you wake up on Shabbos morning and you don't know what day it is or where you're half asleep, but the first thing you do is you flick on the light, you don't know what you're doing, you're not thinking what you're doing, it's like a reflex, so you open the thing, right? Or whatever, that's not called a malacha. You didn't think about it, you didn't even know what you were doing, right? It's the first thing you do, you wake up, you flick off the light or on the light. That's called misasek. You were merrily acting unawares. Oh, I love that one. Merrily acting unawares. Right, I'll have to put that one in my thing and say it. So he was merrily acting. I was in this tub and I wasn't even thinking what I was doing. I was daydreaming. And it just happened while I was daydreaming. I just happened to be measuring. And therefore, that's why it is allowed. So that's the last bit of the Gemara. Hadran aloch misha hechshik. Hechshik is the end of the Perek, the last and 24th Perek of Shabbos. Slik alam Sefer Shabbos. We have now finished the Sefer Shabbos. So let's see if this is going to work. If I can go back to. No, it's not going to work. Okay, I'm going to have to do it. Where was it again? Liturgy, right? It was liturgy, I think. No, not the Pesach Haggadah. Liturgy. Hadran. There we go. Right, we're going to say the Hadran that we say when we finish. And for Harry and, Nancy's already done it. Okay, so Hadran aloch Masechah Shabbos v'Hadrach alon Daton aloch Masechah Shabbos v'Daton aloch Lo nisna Shem minach Masechah Shabbos v'Lo yisis Hashem minon la'ba'al ma'odem v'lo ba'amad osi. We say this 3 times. Basically saying we'll come back to you Shabbos. We will learn you again, both in this world and in the next world. Hadran aloch Masechah Shabbos v'Hadrach alon Daton aloch Masechah Shabbos v'Datoch alon Lo nisna Shem minach Masechah Shabbos v'Lo yisis Hashem minon la'ba'al ma'odem v'lo ba'amad osi. Hadran aloch Masechah Shabbos v'Hadrach alon Daton alon Masechah Shabbos v'Datoch alon Lo nisna Shem minach Masechah Shabbos v'Lo yisis Hashem minon lo ba'amad osi. You know what? Let me undo everybody. Can I do everybody here? Participants, unmute. Let's unmute everybody so people can join in if you want. Those of you who want to be unmuted are unmuted. Okay. Yehi Ratzon Lefanecha Adonai Eloheinu lehavosenu she'teiraskum noseinu ba'olam hazeh u'seimanu la'olam haba. We're going to say the 10 sons of Rabbi Papa who all great Talmidei Chachamim, and that's why we all say it here to show what you can do if you keep the Torah. Hanina Rabbi Papa, Rami Rabbi Papa, Nachman Rabbi Papa, Achai Rabbi Papa, Abba Rabbi Papa, Rofram Rabbi Papa, Rochish Rabbi Papa, Socha Rabbi Papa, Ada Rabbi Papa, Doru Rabbi Papa. Now I pray that Hashem should make Torah sweet in our mouths and our minds and our brains. When near אנחנו כולנו וסצאנו וסצאי עמך בישראל כולנו יודעי שמך ולא ידעי סורסך ואוי ותחכמני מצוותיך כי לעולם יהי לי בסמים בחוגך למען לא יבוש לעולם לא אשכח פיקודך יבום חייסוני בחטא אדוני לעמדני חוקיך. Now a lot of people say this after they finish learning every day. Well, maybe we should say it at the end of every shift, thanking Hashem that we're Jewish and we can learn Torah and so on. Anyone have said Samto Chalkenim Yosh Beis Hamedrash, Lo Samto Chalkenim Yosh Korona, Shon Mashkim, Vehem Mashkim, Anu Mashkim, Devei Soda, Vehem Mashkim, Dvar Petelim, Anu Amelim, Vehem Amelim, Anu Amelim Kan Sochar, Vehem Amelim, Vehem Kan Sochar, Anu Rotzim, Vehem Rotzim, Anu Rotzim Chayim Abba, Vehem Rotzim, Vehem Shachas, Shenem Avatolihim Tagridim, Vehem Shachas, and Shidom Pimba, Vayexu Yimem Ani Atak Bach. Now a prayer that just like we finished Shabbos, we should start and finish other Masechtas. You don't finish, you keep going every day, we keep learning and we keep going. Here it's time for Adonai Elahai. Kishem Shazatani Sam Masechtas Shabbos. Kein Tazvenia Haskell Masechtas and Soyer Macherim. For the Saimam, Nilma Dalame, Lishma Dalasa, Isul Kaimas Kopipi Samote Doctor Avo. As Koskrat, and Nova Meroim Satim Chachamim. Yahweh did the Zarish like Thomas Atoni Pima Pizari Adoilam. It's Kaim B. Is Alecha, Tank Oisa, Bashachmacha, Tishma Alecha, Hakit Soisa, he's Sissi, Kaki, Year, Yamek, receive the Hosh Nice Chaim, Alech Yam, Bimino, Smile, Oisha, Bachava, Adonai, Oisli, Amo Yitain, Adonai, Yavarek, Amoy Basholom, Mazel Tov, wait. Just like we did Pesach, we all did a Seder over Zoom, a Seder, share, see him over Zoom, and we broke our fast, so it works. So you can all join in with me. Here's my 6% alcohol wine. Mazel tov to everybody. This is a Sudas mitzvah. What are these here? Oh, power of rice crackers. I'll just make a bracha. So mazel tov to everybody who did the daf yomi. And to Harry and to Mendy. Let me turn off the shop's share and we can turn off the recording.